Boom, what's up, familia? Dayspring here to break down today's Marvel Legends Hasbro Pulse fan stream. It is February 20th. The live stream just ended an hour ago. I was out jogging, and when it started off, Dwight and Ryan were talking about how they were going to be discussing video games. And I was like, oh my gosh, the rumored Marvel versus Capcom figures are going to be announced. I'm not going to be rational, so I'm increasing my jogging. But we got into like the Spider-Man figures, and I was like, okay, listen, I love the PlayStation Spider-Man games so much. I played the first one when it dropped, Miles during lockdown, and Spider-Man 2. My husband is a big fan of it as well, so we are a Spider-Man PlayStation household here. So I saw all the figures being revealed, and we'll break them down here. I was like, okay, these are great figures. The first thing I thought to myself was, if you're a Spider-Man fan, man, are you going to be enjoying these? Like, you're going to be eating well. Like that Spirit Spider, oh, chef's kisses on that. But I was like, okay, so it's just going to be like a Spider-Man PlayStation heavy stream. And then at the end, they were like, oh, we have some comic figures to end. And it was Warpath and X-23, both that we had reported on before, rather contentiously. And we'll address those. But again, I'm jogging. I'm like, well, I have to go running back to my apartment now and shower really quickly and get my iced coffee. So let's break down this live stream. I got a lot of feels for it because, as I mentioned, when the live stream was kicking off, Dwight and Ryan were talking about, hey, this is going to be a video game focused stream because that's a large part of fandom as well. The game verses are a huge part of fandom, and they have their own audience, and people want figures from them. And I thought to myself, yes, you're absolutely right. Now, does this mean that any figures from video games, well, are they now on the table? Can we get Marvel Legends from like X-Men Mutant Apocalypse or X-Men Next Dimension or Wolverine Adamantium Rage? I mean, a lot of these costumes just translate organically, but I would love a box set of that Super Nintendo X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. But here's the thing. The thing that really struck me is like, okay, well, Marvel vs. Capcom, an entire, I don't want to say wave, but figures based off of Marvel vs. Capcom. And again, I don't think it's going to be called Marvel vs. Capcom as we previously reported. I think it's going to be like a versus, they're going to have a generic name for it. But I thought to myself, okay, this looks good. They're going to expand from just the MCU and comics to include video games, which they've done the PlayStation figures before. But the first thing that came to my mind was, oh my gosh, the Wolverine video game is coming out. And does that mean we're going to get a PS5? I want to say PS5. I think it's PlayStation 5, right? When the Wolverine game comes out, a PlayStation 5 Wolverine with a Jean. We know Jean is playable, and those leaks are out there. No spoilers at all in the stories, but Jean looks to be playable for certain parts of the game. And of course, it's Jean fucking Grey. So, of course, if she's in a video game and you're doing figures based off of the video game, you're going to include Jean. So, I thought that was really great. I would love to see Marvel versus Capcom. I think this now sort of solidifies those rumors on the back end. I have been talking with some people about that, about the Marvel versus Capcom figures. Are they coming? What are they going to look like? What's the release going to be? Because, we've seen Marrow, we've seen Cable, we got that Iron Man, that 90s Iron Man, which is very much just the Marvel versus Capcom Iron Man. I'm sure they'll re-release him, but how are we going to see them? I don't know. It's a good question. We got the re-release in September digitally, and then the physical in November. So, the announcement seemed to get a lot of media traction. People were excited, but I don't see a lot of people playing it. I was playing it like the other night with the cherry Coke and pizza. I mean, that's just, if you want to make me happy, familia, I just want to play Marvel versus Capcom and Fortnite. Just want to play those video games while eating pizza, having a Dr. Pepper or a cherry Coke. That is my ideal night. So I hope that they're coming. My worry is that they haven't been announced because I don't know if the video game relaunches have sold well. I don't know. This is just me speculating out loud because I would imagine if you had a juggernaut with the Marvel vs. Capcom waves, those would be the first ones out the door, and you'd be like, hey, look at this. the Spider-Man figures, although really great, are at this point like a year or so, like, later. So they look awesome. I'm happy with them. Give us more video game figures. Thank you, please. Marvel versus Capcom's at the top of my list. I want to do like a irrational most wanted Marvel Legends list for just me, just my own personal what I want, not what's based on the market, what is achievable, just me being irrational. And I have a couple Marvel versus Capcom figures on there. So tune in for that video later down. But why don't we go through the live stream and we can get into it? We'll obviously have a lot to say about Warpath and X-23. So let me get through some of the other stuff that they talked about and then get comfortable. We're gonna dive deep on Laura and James. Okay. So one thing that I thought was really interesting that when they were kicking off the stream after they were talking about video games was that like, oh, hey, in terms of MCU figures, we're not going to be releasing any right now, or we're not going to be showing you guys any right now. But just so you know, we are in the Captain America Brave New World era. Obviously, we have already seen Falcon and Red Hulk out there. So when they say we're in this era, as someone who's seen the movie, I'm like, okay, which other characters can they do? Obviously, Falcon. Obviously, Black Widow, the Black Widow that was in the movie, the leader. So I think it's a pretty safe bet that we're going to see more of those characters coming down the line. I would still love a Liv Tyler figure. Like, get those Toy Biz. Lord of the Ring molds from Arwen and just recycle it and make me a happy fanboy. They also mentioned Fantastic Four figures are coming, and then then Dwight was like, "Wait, there's another movie coming out, Thunderbolts." And Ryan said, "If we visit them, of course they're going to visit them. How could you not do a Winter Soldier, or a Yelena, Black Widow figures? I mean, those in Sentry, right? Sentry's going to be in it, so." I think their minds are probably gearing towards Fantastic Four, though. I think we're all really excited for Fantastic Four. All right. So why don't we break down everything that was revealed here very quickly? Oh, and by the way, when they were like, 10 years ago, we did this Angela figure. I was like, I remember still getting that Angela figure. I was down in Boca Raton, and I was so excited. I just cannot believe it has been a decade since that. That is mind blowing. That's when I sort of started freelance auctioneering, and I can't believe it's been a decade. Wow, what is time? Oh my goodness, time is just insane. All right, so the first reveal was Spirit Spider-Man, and I don't remember the skin in Spider-Man 1. But regardless, I was like, okay, if you're a Spider-Man collector, this is one of the figures you want in your collection. It's a very diverse looking figure. I love the blue flame effect. He's a pinless. He looks like that creepy skull face. Is that the same face as the Build-A-Figure Genocide? I'm just now assuming all skull faces aren't being recycled. Probably different. But he'll be available at Walmart. So I like that, the blue the blue effect for Walmart. So take a look for him once he becomes available for pre-order. Okay, this Fisk looks amazing. And they talked about how like, okay, this interpretation of the Kingpin is a bit more slender, not as bulky as previous ones, and he's obviously in a black suit, and whereas before we've done countless variations of him, especially in his white suit, this looks so good. Oh my goodness. I think I'm going to be picking him up. And listen, Dwight was saying that this was a fun update, and I'm going to agree with him. This just looks like a fun figure, and he has like the pinky ring. He comes with his cane, an alternate head, and two alternate hands. I think he looks great. I loved him in the Spider-Man games. Thought he was a really great villain. He's coming also in March, so take a look out for that pre-order. No notes on this. This is a fantastic looking figure. So happy. And then we got a couple Miles Morales figures. We got him in his upgraded suit. Let me just pull it up here. So much easier to do it like this than pulling up like images and overlaying it. You let me know what you like, Familia. You know, one of the things that I've realized, I cannot compete with some of the larger Marvel Legends channels. I mean, because they are just so incredibly quick. They have the great images, but what we do really well here is that we can react and we can give the backstory and the fandom on this. In especially with Miles Morales' upgraded suit, which we saw in Spider-Man 2. It looks great. Looks great. Variation of obviously the PS5 Spider-Man. Peter Parker suit. Love it. It looks great. Again, no. It's the first Spider-Man game was excellent. I'm not gonna give story spoilers for it, but like I was left bawling at the end of the first Spider-Man game, and then we got the Miles Morales game, which was so much fun to play during lockdown. I have to tell you. I mean, I don't think we were in lockdown. We were in lockdown. Again, what is time? I still think the Marvel Legends Angela figure came out like 2 years ago. So what is time? But I love playing the Miles game during lockdown, and then Spider-Man 2, obviously. I mean, that came out, I believe, when we were just buying our place down here in Florida. And we were doing the renovations here, and we weren't in the city as much. We weren't at a place in the city as much, and we were so like desperate for New York that just playing that game and also being Miles was just, it was so much fun. So much fun. So, anyways, this Miles looks really, really great. There's also a Miles costume with the Puerto Rican flag, which again looks amazing. I'm probably not going to pick up these figures. I'm not going to pick up the Miles or the Peter in the anti-Venom suit, which we'll get into a little later. But there's no doubt that they're good-looking figures, and if you're a Spider-Man collector, you're going to want to add them to your collection, especially if you're collecting the PlayStation Spider-Man figures. Okay, but the one I do want to talk about definitely going to pick up Wilson Fisk, definitely picking up Kingpin, and I am picking up this black costume Spider-Man. Oh my God. Speechless. I have chills looking at this figure. I have chills looking at this figure. It feels so dramatic. But listen, we've been collecting Marvel Legends since 2002. Since 2002, and I don't want to be performative for the camera here. I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I have chills. That's one of those things that when we were recording an episode of the podcast recently, and we were talking about Emma surviving Genosha because we're covering new X-Men on the podcast, I got emotional talking about it, and I never sit well with that because I'm like, oh, people are going to think it's performative. But like, as I have been pensive with it, like, I've been a fan for a long time, and these are real emotions. And seeing this black costume Spider-Man with the black symbiote webbing, look at it. Look how Dwight was just moving it around. Hang on, we're going to go back to that. Ah. Okay, sorry. I still have the live chat streaming here. I love seeing people's reactions. We're going to get into comments as well. Look, multiple hands. Look at that webbing. I mean, look at the detail on this figure. One of the best black costumes out there, like figures done about the black costume. They could have easily phoned this in, Familia. They could have easily phoned it in, but they didn't. Look at that. How could you not look at this and be like, wow, that is a work of art? They got a budget for it. They have a budget this season. Oh, he looks so good. They're nailing the Spider-Man figures. I'm really excited for Maximum. Oh, the packaging looks so good. So good. Packaging looks amazing. Yeah, I wanted to grab Dwight. Yeah, there it is. Look at Dwight just playing with the webbing. The black symbiote webbing. Symbiote webbing. Tongue twister for me there. Great packaging. Great packaging. All right, and there's Miles in his Puerto Rican costume. Looks great. Yo soy cubano, so, and my mejor amiga is from Puerto Rico, so she's half Puerto Rican, but so we got a lot of pride. A lot of pride. Oh, looks so good. Looks great. Look at it. The packaging looks amazing. The anti-Venom, Peter Parker, an anti-Venom suit. Love the alternate heads. Love the deco on it. Who did they mention? They mentioned a name. It was someone that they've mentioned before, Kristen, doing the deco. We're going to hunt Kristen down and try to see if we can get her on the podcast. We'd love to chat with her. She looks amazing. I mean, the decos on these figures look amazing. Looks amazing. Check that out. Not a figure I'm probably going to pick up, to be completely honest with you, but it's still beautiful. And I encourage you, if you like it, go pick it up. It looks amazing. Again, they have nailed it with their Spider-Man figures. Miles Morales, Brooklyn 2099, 100% I am picking up. I'm a sucker for everything 2099. X-Men 2099, Doom 2099. Sean Latveryland, who's one of our co-hosts on the podcast, loves Doom 2099. I love it. Those issues of Doom 2099 are not on Marvel Unlimited. That is very frustrating, but Spider-Man 2099 and X-Men 2099, I enjoy reading them. I will say I don't think X-Men 2099 is particularly great. Sorry to say, but it's fine. It is great in the sense of turn off your brain and enjoy the comic. Yeah, guys, let me know your feels in the comments below. Yesterday's video about the Giant Size X-Men event, I've gotten lots of DMs, lots of emails. I've seen some comments on the video, so please, I know people like to send it. I always say this about Power of X-Men. We're a decent sized podcast, not the biggest out there, but what we have is very passionate people, and I'm so proud of that. I'm proud that the majority of people who come to Power of X-Men are fans, and they're fans who want to talk about legends, comics, video games. Miles Morales, Brooklyn 2099. Great skin in the game. I want him. Give it to me. Give me him, please. Okay. So now we have Felicia Blackcat. Now, I know this is based off of the side quest that came later on, but for me, The City That Never Sleeps downloadable content, because she wasn't officially in the first Spider-Man game, she came in as a DLC, and she's like, "Hey there, Spider. Long time. Miss me?" And then he goes, "Felicia." And she said, "Catch me if you can." So she was initially introduced into the PS5 PlayStation. I keep saying PS5 PlayStation Spider-Man universe via downloadable content for the first Spider-Man game. Articulated ponytail. Give that to Jean Grey. Give that to Jean Grey. Oh, I hope it does. I hope the ponytail doesn't fall off like it does for the X-Men '97 Jean Grey. That always traumatizes me because I always think of the Battle Blaster Jean. Oh, she looks great. She looks great. All right, so this entire wave, not including Spirit Spider and Kingpin, Miles in the upgraded suit, Peter Parker in the black costume, Miles in the Puerto Rican suit, Peter in Anti-Venom, Brooklyn 2099 Miles, and Felicia are all going on pre-order next Tuesday, the 25th. Looks great. No qualms. Go. Buy it. Buy it. I'll probably cherry pick the ones I want. I do want Felicia, and I do want Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Brooklyn 2099. Those are the ones I want. Very, very much so. Okay. And we end this section with a PlayStation 2 Venom. Looks great. Drool effect deluxe figure. I mean, look at that drool effect. Oh, the effect looks great. Oh, and it's removable. I missed that part. So you get his long salivating tongue. But look at the drool on his tongue. No, it looks great. Absolutely wonderful. How could you say otherwise? How could you not want this figure? Looks great. I love it for the packaging alone. I love that window packaging with all of the accessories and alternate heads on display. I wish they can now take this, but make it a comic book accurate Venom. It's what I want. I'm just looking at Groot can get wings, but not Venom. Ooh, that's true. I'm looking at the live chat here. It goes fast. This live chat goes so fast. I wish there was a way to slow it down. People are asking for Kraven. No Kraven. Yeah, Kraven was a big part of the second game. No wings. Yep. That's huge. It's $75. Hasbro isn't really trying, are they? Oh, these are kind of some, please be cheap. These are kind of salty comments here. Damn. Pre-order for this one is going to be, what is it, Thursday? It's February 27th. However, that works out in the week, wherever February 27th is. I believe that would be, it's 2 days from Tuesday. So I think it would be Thursday. But yeah, it looks great. I'm really happy. I'll pay $30 for that. Bet it's 45. Pricing is like a big issue now with Hasbro. So it kind of reminds me of when Disney Plus was starting to drop their shows, and all of a sudden we were becoming obsessed about episode lengths with WandaVision. We're like, this episode is only 30 minutes, but this one's going to be 40, or this one's 29. It's very funny. But I think since the Maximum series, we have been eyeing what pricing is for Marvel Legends. And there's a lot of people out there who do breakdowns on pricing and how the toy industry works. And especially with the Maximum, I was just watching a video today. Oh, I just hit subscribe on that person's channel, and they used to work. They used to work for Matty Collector. They do such a great industry breakdown. I mean, again, before Hasbro Stream had started, I was listening to them on my jog. Oh my gosh, so informative, talking about like the flow of distribution. It was wonderful. All right, so now we're going to get into the fun stuff. Fun stuff for Power of X-Men. And it is a new Marvel Legends Warpath in his X-Force costume. Now, we had reported on Warpath and X-23 in their X-Force costumes, quite infamously on this channel. They are on the rumored list that we have been reporting on. So there's two that we can remove. But I was like, my initial reaction, and let me explain, because I got such nasty, oh my gosh, I got such nasty comments and DMs and emails, and I was like, oh, I was initially disappointed to hear that we were going to be revisiting this X-Force era for X-23 and Warpath, only because we had gotten these figures again previously in the past. And again, the face-off, I believe they were called face-off. They're 2-packs with Warpath and Deadpool. Those were great, and that was before the return of Marvel Legends, as Ryan said in this video. They were the first heralds that Hasbro was refocusing their efforts in the Marvel Legends line, and we were going to start getting really great figures. Like, remember, we had the 2-pack with Bucky and Black Widow, for example, and that Black Widow for the longest time was like the gold standard of how you do a female figure in the Marvel Legends line. She was great. We love her. It's so weird for me to think that those are out of date. And again, when you've been collecting this line since 2002 and you only get a handful of figures, you're waiting for more characters to be done. So, my initial reaction is like, wait, we need Rachel. We need Farrell. We need Adamax. You know what I mean? So to hear that we were going to be revisiting Warpath in this costume and X-23 in this costume, when they have gone on to do much more things in the X-Men universe, and no one's really talking about this era anymore. It is a fan favorite era, don't get me wrong, I'm not disagreeing with it. It's one of those things that's like an initial shock. So I do apologize for how my initial reaction was. And by the way, I say this all the time on the podcast and on here. I'm always happy to eat my words, and I'm always happy to be wrong. And in this case, I'm going to eat my words, and I'm going to say this Warpath looks incredible. He looks incredible, and so does the X-23. She looks so wonderful. Now, a little something just to know. I was like, here. Oh, I have to put on my nerdy voice for this. But, I think they mentioned on the stream that this is Uncanny X-Force. It's not exactly true. These are two separate teams in the comics, and this era of X-Force with X-23 and Warpath in these costumes is the 2008 to 2010 run. To give you context for this is during Messiah Complex, where Scott has to assemble an underground team to go in search of Cable and Bebe Hope Summers, Baby Spalding, who at the time was supposed to be Jean Grey Reborn. So they are now this like Black Ops team that does all the dirty work for Cyclops. And it's actually rather contentious I mean, it's a really contentious story point. Laura X-23 at the time was still relatively new in the comics. This is 2008. She was introduced in X-Men Evolution. She's only been around like 6, 7 years. She had her series in NYX. She eventually joined the X-Men, and then Messiah Complex sort of kicks off, and then she becomes a member of X-Force. And this era of X-Force is just X-Force, and it's written by Chris Yost and Mike Choi. Mike Choi does the art for it, as well as Clayton Crane. So those two are sort of like your big artists on the run when you're thinking about these. Uncanny X-Force is the Rick Remender era of the team, and it's after this team with Warpath and X-23 was disassembled. So that's the one where you have Wolverine, Phantom X, Psylocke, and Deadpool. That's just to give you a little frame of reference, and that's where you get the Dark Angel saga, and where Phantom X and Psylocke strike up a romance, and they have Kid Apocalypse. But this era that these figures are being based off is not Uncanny X-Force. It's just X-Force from 2008, 2010, and Archangel is in it. So that's probably why there's some confusion, because Archangel is also in it. But you know who was also on this team? Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry. Archangel is also on that rumored list. So we had X-23 and Warpath, and now maybe we're going to be getting an Archangel. He is on that rumored list, and they have already done Archangel. I believe they've done him twice. It was the Uncanny version, Uncanny X-Force version for the San Diego 3-pack, and then I believe he was re-released later down the line. So we've gotten 2 rounds of Archangel, but that's fine. It's an easy figure. Update the body mold and throw him out there. Archangel's one of those characters that everyone loves, evergreen. We could never get enough Archangel. So you would be doing, so at that point, at this point, you would have Warpath, you will have X-23, you have Archangel. Do you know who else is on the team? Now we can get into it. Do you know who else is on the team? Well, Wolfspade. Let's get a third Wolfsbane figure, right? Let's go through all her eras, right? We have her in New Mutants, we have her in X Factor. Let's get her X Force incarnation. She's more, if you're going to do it, you have to do her more wolfy. She's more wolfy in the X Force era. But 2 other characters, or 3. We'll throw in a third one too. 3 other characters that are heavily featured in this era of X Force in that 2008-2010 run is Elixir, who has never had a Marvel Legends before. So I would be very excited to get Elixir. I mean, I'm just getting giddy over it. Vanisher. This is where I think the modern interpretation of Vanisher, where he's wearing like the beater, just like bald head, and this is where you would want him. He was also featured in Wolverine and the X-Men in this look. So he certainly should be on the table, and those 2 would complete the main team for or those 3, excuse me. Those 3 would complete the main team for this era of X-Force. Let's call it the Yost era of X-Force. But we also have a villain that's featured there, which is Bastion. Bastion is heavily featured, and of course we did get Bastion as part of the HasLab Sentinel. He was one of the figures there, but he was not readily available to the masses, and that HasLab Sentinel is a pretty penny. And again, because what is time? What is time? It's been years since that's happened, and Bastion has obviously had a major upgrade in X-Men canon with X-Men 97. Now, would they do an X-Men 97 Bastion, or would they give us an Uncanny X? Or would they do an X-Force? See, I even messed it up. Or would they do an X-Force Bastion? I don't know. Which one do you prefer? Do you want an X-Men 97 Bastion, or do you want an X-Force Bastion? One major thing happened during this run too that we have to talk about, and that is Necrosha. Necrosha happened during this, and Selene was the main villain. Can we get Selene? I know she was part of the Hellfire box set. She was an alternate head for Jean. But really, Selene deserves her own figure. And listen, happy that we got the alternate head for Selene, but I think they could do a little better for Selene, especially with the technology. I mean, look at this Warpath. Look at this Warpath. He looks great. Look at that. again, I think of the face-off figure, and I always say this about Hasbro. I'm always like, oh, but those previous figures were so great. Why would you want to redo them? And Hasbro's like, hold my beer. And they give us this beautiful figure. It's a work of art. I can't even believe that this is a figure. I mean, the expressions. Look at it. All right, so he's on the Omega Red scale body, articulated torso, double arms and legs. He's got the boot cuts, which look great. He has new bands that match his gloves, which is great, and a new belt where you can put on those knives. Great. um, what? Perfect. Take my money. Here's my money, Hasbro. Just take it and give me three of these. The expressions look great. Expressions. Look at that. Holy frack. And again, Kristen, who does the deco, I mean, le me. She got it. She got it so well. Look at that. It looks great. Look at the belt. Looks like he comes with alternate hands, which of course that's pretty standard at this point with Legends. I come from a different era. I'm sorry. So if I'm like, oh, extra, I'm so excited. It's because I'm still in the mindset of the Toy Biz era figures, where alternate hands seem more like a luxury. Okay, and this is here comes the star of the show. The star of the show, which is Laura Kinney, aka X-23, who is Wolverine now. She has a Wolverine mantle in the comics. Oh man, look at that. There she is. This looks great. I will never forget Toy Fair back in like what 2003, 2004, where they unveiled that cover of the original Toy Biz X-23, and she had two variants, one in her NYX and another in a purple costume, looking a bit more feral. I believe I was on an Amtrak because I was like afraid to fly, and I was on my Sidekick. You remember those phones, like the T-Mobile Sidekicks? And I remember just watching it loading so slowly, so slowly. Here it is. Oh, she looks great. And this face, we'll zoom in on it here. This face looks very, I mean, it's very NYX, in my opinion. Obviously, this is based off of the Choi and Crane run. Obviously, the X Force run. Looks so great. Oh, okay. So this one here, though, with the windswept hair in her mouth open, does look like that 2018 release. So again, we did see another version of this Uncanny X-Force figure. She was released in 2018. The swept hair here and the feral face looks very reminiscent of that. So she comes with alternate hands and fists with the double claws. The ones on her boot are removable. She's on the smaller girl body. Double articulated elbow and legs, pinless. One more somber face, whatever. Unmasked face, and then one feral angry face. And again, they give a shout out to Kristen, who does the deco. And again, I gonna give all the flowers to Kristen. Look at that. Oh my God. Again, I was initially disappointed to hear that we were going to revisit this look in Legends, but I have nothing to say to that. I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Someone left me a comment, and I'll never forget. It was one of, well, we get some pretty, X-Men fans, Marvel fans, we're all very passionate, and we get to hide behind the anonymity of the internet. But someone left a comment that was like, I have never disagreed with someone more in my entire life when I initially reported on this video, on these figures. And they're like, I've never disagreed with someone more in my life, and I don't mean to be mean, but you are an idiot, and you don't even sound smart, and you are not a good speaker. I was like, it was mean. I'm an auctioneer for a living. I'm an auctioneer for a living. How can you say that? It's so nasty. A rather successful auctioneer. But anyways, look, she's great. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was initially upset about it. But the way the Hasbro is turning out figures now, it's like you can revisit anyone, and I trust you, and I trust Hasbro so much. And there they are. There are the faces. I love the It's not somber, but the unmasked face. That bold red. Oh, it looks so good. These don't look based off of the actual art though, which I find very interesting because again, as we've talked about with like the Chris Pacello Generation X figures, as we've talked about the John Cassaday, Astonishing Emma. And Cyclops, those are very much reminiscent of that. Monet's Terry Dotson art. This very much looks like there's. I don't want to just neutral legends. Would that be the vibe that we're going for? Just neutral legends. Doesn't look specifically inspired by the art from those runs, which is very. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the palettes are there, the shades in the palettes, but the actual art doesn't look like it to me. Just my opinion on that. I'll never forget though that they did Messiah War, where the X-Force team goes into the future and they catch up with Cable and they see baby Spalding, aka Hope Summers, as like kind of like a toddler. And there's this moment where they just freeze and they look at Hope Summers, and you can tell that they're emotionally affected by it because this is the Messiah baby. She is a herald that their species will survive. It's such a great run. They weren't wrong when they said it's a fan favorite run. It's well done run. Very well done run. All right, Familia. They're coming for pre-order in March. So check out Power of X-Men on Instagram for those links. We do have an Amazon store now because we're cool. I am working on a website. I'm working on a website because I feel like I put so much information on the Instagram page, and I might as well just put it on a website that's mine, and I'm not subjected to whatever algorithm Instagram is going through. So I've been working on that website. Hopefully we'll have that up and running by the time March launches, and you can see these figures through there. Okay, so let's get into the comments here. I don't think I can. It looks like the live chat kind of froze here. I want to get into the actual comments of the video, but just looking here, Frog Gaming 5674 says there's no MCU or rivals. Sorry to break it to y'all. They mentioned it already. They ain't doing this video game. I don't remember them saying they aren't doing Marvel Rivals, but Marvel Rivals has been very successful. I mean, I feel like everyone is playing Marvel Rivals. And again, I always say that like my measurement are more the air quote normies. And I have friends here at a local pub in Miami where when I went to the table, to the bar, they were like, "Are you playing Marvel Rivals? You're the X-Men guy. You're not playing it. Wanda's in it, Storm's in it, Wolverine." And so that's kind of weird that they wouldn't be doing it. I don't know what the right situation is. X-Force Wolverine remake. Come on. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a safe bet that we're going to get it. Where's the reverse crunch? It's fair. Fair. Angry Face is dope. I assume they're talking about Laura. There. Wave 2 of Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah. But you know what? In fairness, like, they said at the top of the stream this was going to be video game focused with a comic book, figures ending. All right, let's see what the actual comments are here. Okay. You really picked to create brand new tooling for the crappiest costumes instead of redoing the advanced suit. This is why you're losing sales. Oh my God. Some people on the internet. Gosh. Some people on the internet, man, do not hold back. I always find it funny that some people don't understand that they're humans on the other end of these streams. No Daredevil Born Again. My disappointment is immeasurable. Well, I mean, listen, they have to play it safe with like spoilers in the MCU. On the rumored list, we do have Daredevil and Punisher, and I know they are announced, and everyone knows that Daredevil and Punisher are going to be in Daredevil Born Again. But again, they were very clear up front that this is going to be a video game. I wouldn't worry about Daredevil Born Again. I think it's pretty obvious we're going to be getting it. Oh my gosh, this. Damn, man. The game verse is Peg Warmer Ollie's Rust material. Oh, jeez. Oh my God. Ooh, man. I really enjoyed this stream. Some of these comments. Take a shot every time Dwight says or listen, vocal fillers. I've taken speech classes before. Coming off of your thoughts there, you're not pre-rehearsed, you're not scripted. I don't think that's fair. That's not fair. 25% good, 75% bad and unnecessary. I'll be passing on all these. Really? Really? Even on Warpath and X-23? I don't believe that. I want the lizard from the second Spider-Man game to have it to become a Marvel Legends. Okay. Really, that's it? No Daredevil, no Thunderbolts or Fantastic Four? They mentioned at the top of the stream. Listen, I feel some of these comments are a little unfair. They mentioned at the top of the stream that they're aware that no MCU. At a certain point, you have to kind of, this stream is dedicated to video games. They're coming into a new market here. That's not fair. They mentioned Fantastic Four. It's coming. They're aware of it. Thunderbolts. Ooh, are we going to revisit? Are we going to visit those figures? Come on. Missed opportunity to make Venom 19 inches. I'm not precious about height, so it's a little irrelevant to me. Starts at 11 minutes and 12 seconds. I've seen people do that to me. Some people have said to me, like, dude, it took you 8 minutes to get to it. And I'm like, well, you want to give context. You want to have a nice conversation beforehand. It's like you're sitting down for a date, you know? But that's why, again, I think there are some YouTubers out there who specifically cover Marvel Legends, and they get right to the point with 10, 15-minute videos, and that's why they're very successful, and I'm very envious of that. I like to have, on the flip side, it may not lend itself to YouTube, but I like to have a little bit more of a conversation. Only buying Spirit Spider, see, I told you, Black Suit, and Venom if he's $40 or less. It's not going to be $40 or less. Not going to be $40 or less. We had a conversation about pricing and everything, and I just, I think these figures, there is a price model that's out there that these retailers are used to. Hasbro is looking at margins and profits. They have to be priced within a certain scale in the industry that makes sense. So, $40 or less. I don't think so. And again, I don't think it's all about Hasbro making money. I just think they have to have a win. They have to have a sell-through on these things. That is from the YouTuber. I probably butchered all of his knowledge, but the YouTuber I was talking about earlier in this episode, where he was talking about sales, especially with the Maximum series, and how the cost of plastic it's not just the cost of plastic, but also how many parts to assemble. Fascinating. This is when I say I want to understand the industry. I want to understand the industry. My wallet is happy. Thanks. Oh my goodness. Come on. I mean, I'm curious. Do we have Spider-Verse collectors out there? I don't think Power of X-Men is a good cultural sample for it. If you by chance stumble upon this video, are you collecting the Spider-Verse figures? Oh man, I can't wait for the X-Force 2-pack. Need the 2-pack of Warpath and X-23. Great. Wonderful. They seem to be getting the most love. Warpath and X-23 as X-Force. I'm very happy. It's so curious to me. You know what? It's such an interesting. I wish there was someone who would do like a study on the industry, on fandom, because this is a run that is coming up almost on 20 years since it came out. And I'm telling you, as someone who covers X-Men content and news, not many people talk about this run. It was beloved. People who read it still enjoy it, but it's not really at the forefront of the conversations in the way that something like, let's say, new X-Men, I'm being biased here, but Messiah Complex, for example. People talk about Messiah Complex still. People still talk about Age of Apocalypse. This X-Force run, for the most part, not many people speak about. And also, we already had these figures based off of these characters in this incarnation, and yet, still, people are very excited for it. It's so interesting. Again, this is stuff that you can't really predict. The The Spider-Man figures were hella weak, but Kingpin and Venom look so sick, I'll grab them. And new X-Force, sign me up. See? Again, people are just really excited. People are really excited for it. Amazing. Been waiting for these since the game came out. I'm so glad that there's someone out there who really likes these figures. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm taking that black hat and the black suit along with the Warpath and X-23. Agreed. Okay, let us take a really quick look at Power of X-Men. Posted this. We have a couple. We have a nice set of comments here. On Power of X-Men, someone says, too similar to the last ones for me, and this is in reference to X-23 and Warpath. The gif of shut up and take my money from Futurama. Someone said, I knew Laura in the outfit was needed. Mine has some bad knees. And I thought we had a Warpath, but maybe not so cool. Yeah, we do have the Warpath, but this is an updated one. And again, the Warpath that was initially released was a variant. Right, so we had Warpath in his traditional X-Force costume, and then we got the X-Force Yost costume. I need that Laura. Couldn't have upgraded the pins. Come on. Right off the comic book pages, dark and gritty. And finally, a new X-23, but I wanted a normal outfit instead of the X-Force one. You know what? I think this model looks so great. Repaint her with the NYX or her early X-Men costume. I would love that very much. All right, Familia, there you have it. It looks great. We will be at Toy Fair. I do have to reach out to people to let them know we are going to be there. It's my first time going to Toy Fair. I've been watching and following along Toy Fair news since like 2003, 2004 on the Foosh. So this is my first time going. So I don't know the rules of the game. Thank God Adventures in Collecting has been my fairy godfather sort of guiding me through the entire process because I'm pretty daft when it comes to everything. For me, I'm like, I'll just show up. I'll get a vodka soda at the bar, just walk around the con floor, and it's Eric over at Adventures in Collecting. He's like, you need to make appointments. You need to make appointments, Dayspring. I didn't know. What did you think about these reveals, Familia? What are your feels? Are you going to be pre-ordering these? Oh, we did pull Power of X-Men very quickly. I just threw it up an hour ago, so we don't have the results up. All the results that we typically would have. Like our polls somewhat average around 1,500 to 3,000 votes. Right? That's sort of where we get when we do our votings, our polls on our Insta stories. So right here, we're at about 278 votes because I just posted it like 45 minutes ago. And I asked the Familia, will you be pre-ordering this 2-pack with Warpath and X-23? 56% said yeah, and 44% said nah. That's, I wasn't... That's how we do our polling data here. I try to be a little creative with it, but given the speed that we want to get this information out. But if that number changes, if we see a huge flux, obviously we'll post it on our Insta stories. But so it seems 50-50 on this. Let's see what other figures we have. So again, if we're looking at just X-Force era, this specific Yost era X-Force, the next one that's on the rumored list, again, we reported that Warpath and X-23 were coming. Archangel is also listed there. So the other three that I think you would need to complete this era of the team would be Wolfsbane, Vanisher, and Elixir. And then for Uncanny X-Force, which is a different team after this team, that's the team with Deadpool, Psylocke, Wolverine, Archangel, and Phantom X. And Archangel is interchangeable, in terms of the figures. It's same costume. Maybe there's some variations to the costumes that I just don't remember off the top of my head, but Archangel can work for both. All right, Familia, let us know your comments. Drop them below. Thank you for tuning in. I want to hear all your feelings. Leave them in the comments below, and we will chat later.